Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasodhanandana Braja Janardana Yasodhanandana Braja Janardana Yasodhanandana Braja Janardana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Hare Kṛṣṇa Hare Kṛṣṇa 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Kṛṣṇa Hare Kṛṣṇa 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Shri Radhe Jaya Radha Madana Mohan Radha Madana Mohan Shri Radhe Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Shri Radhe. Jai Radha Gopinata Radha Gopinata Shri Radhe. Jaya Lalita Visakha Jaya Radhe Shyam. Lalita Visakha Jaya Radhe Shyam. Jaya Kṛṣṇa Balaram, Kṛṣṇa Balaram, Kṛṣṇa Balaram, Jaya Kṛṣṇa Balaram. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Hari Ko, Hari Ko, Hari Ko, Gaura Hari Ko. Nitai Gaur Sitanath Premanande. Om Viṣṇu Padaya Kṛṣṇa 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 Prabhupada Sahityam Nama Om Viṣṇu Padaya Kṛṣṇa Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyanan Gyana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Juta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Shra Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadvadhutam Parijana Sahitam Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Kṛṣṇa Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Viṣakam Vitam Scha He Kṛṣṇa Karuna Sindho Dīnabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavanisvari Visabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindubhya eva cha Patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Jai Sri Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Chapter 4, Transcendental Knowledge, Text 25. Daivam evāpare yajñam yoginaḥ paryupāsate brahmāgnāv apare yajñam yajñenaivopajuhvati daivam evāpare yajñam yoginaḥ paryupāsate brahmāgnāv apare yajñam yajñenaivopajuhvati. Daivam evāpare yajñam yoginaḥ paryupāsate brahmāgnāv apare yajñam yajñenaivopajuhvati. Daivam evāpare yajñam yoginaḥ Mataji. Daivam evāpare yajñam yoginaḥ Daivam, in worshipping the demigods. Eva, like this. Apare, some others. Yajñam, sacrifices. Yoginaḥ, mystics. Paryupāsate, worship perfectly. Brahma, of the absolute truth. Agnau, in the fire. Apare, others. Yajñam, sacrifice. Yajñena, by sacrifice. Eva, thus. Upajuhvati, offer. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Some yogis perfectly worship the demigods by offering different sacrifices to them, and some of them offer sacrifices in the fire of the Supreme Brahman. Purport. As described above, a person engaged in discharging duties in Kṛṣṇa consciousness is also called a perfect yogi or a first-class mystic. But there are others also who perform similar sacrifices in the worship of demigods, and still others who sacrifice to the Supreme Brahman or the impersonal feature of the Supreme Lord. So there are different kinds of sacrifices in terms of different categories. Such different categories of sacrifices by different types of performers only superficially demark varieties of sacrifice. Factually, sacrifice means to satisfy the Supreme Lord Viṣṇu, who is also known as Yajña. All the different varieties of sacrifice can be placed within two primary divisions, namely sacrifice of worldly possessions and sacrifice in pursuit of transcendental knowledge. Those who are in Kṛṣṇa consciousness sacrifice all material possessions for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord, while others who want some temporary material happiness sacrifice their material possessions to satisfy demigods such as Indra, the sun god, etc. And others who are impersonalists sacrifice their identity by merging into the existence of impersonal Brahman. The demigods are powerful living entities, appointed by the Supreme Lord for the maintenance and supervision of all material functions, like the heating, watering, and lighting of the universe. Those who are interested in material benefits worship the demigods by various sacrifices according to the Vedic rituals. They are called bahv-īśvara-vādī, or believers in many gods. But others who worship the impersonal feature of the Absolute Truth and regard the forms of the demigods as temporary sacrifice their individual selves in the Supreme Fire and thus end their individual existence by merging into the existence of the Supreme. Such impersonalists sacrifice their time in philosophical speculation to understand the transcendental nature of the Supreme. In other words, the fruitive workers sacrifice their material possessions for material enjoyment, whereas the impersonalist sacrifices his material designations with a view to merging into the existence of the Supreme. For the impersonalist, the fire altar of sacrifice is the Supreme Brahman, and the offering is the self being consumed by the fire of Brahman. The Kṛṣṇa conscious person, like Arjuna, however, sacrifices everything for the satisfaction of Kṛṣṇa, and thus all his material possessions, as well as his own self, everything is sacrificed for Kṛṣṇa. Thus he is the first-class yogi, but he does not lose his individual existence. Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai. Daivam evāpare yajñaṁ yogīna paryupāsate. Brahmagnāv apare yajñaṁ yajñenaivopajuhvati. Some yogis perfectly worship the demigods by offering different sacrifices to them. And some of them offer sacrifices in the fire of the Supreme Brahman. So this verse describes about a person who's perfectly absorbed in meditation of the Supreme Lord, and he discharged his duties in Kṛṣṇa consciousness. And there's also, there are three categories here of different personalities who worship different personalities as well. Now we may say it's not really a personality because the impersonalists, they worship Brahman. We say the three aspects of the Supreme Lord, the three kinds of personalities who worship the different three aspects of the Supreme Lord. And the topmost is the yogi who thinks of Kṛṣṇa and perform his duty for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. Others also, they perform their sacrifice for the benefit of the demigods so that they'll be able to receive benediction for material gain. And there's another personality who sacrificed his very self to merge into the effulgence, Brahman effulgence of the Supreme Lord. So a perfect yogi or first-class mystic is one who is Kṛṣṇa conscious. It doesn't matter what he performs, or all of his activities is dovetailed towards the supreme consciousness. The individual consciousness is dovetailed to give pleasure, to serve the supreme consciousness. That means God, Kṛṣṇa. He is a perfect yogi or first-class mystic. But then others also are described here who are worshippers of the demigods. Yeah. There is sacrifice. Sacrifice has to be performed. Ultimately, yajña tat karmano nyatra lokoyam karma bandhana tad artam karma konteya mukta sangha samachara. Work has to be done as a sacrifice for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, one's work will bind one into this material world. He cannot become free. So the devotees, all of their activities are dovetailed to please the Supreme Lord. And not everyone can do that immediately. At least if one accepts the demigods or perform their sacrifice for the pleasure of the demigods, for wanting material desires to be fulfilled, then at least they are connected to Lord Viṣṇu, because all the sacrifices performed, the beginning mantra is for Lord Viṣṇu. It's like when you do the oblation, it's not possible also to not mention Lord Viṣṇu in the beginning. So there are many ways how one can, let me see the notes I have here. These demigod worshippers, they want material boon. They want immediate result of their activities. In Bhakti, it is gradual. It may be slow, or one can expedite it. It depends on the practitioner, the sadhaka, the one who wants to attain perfection. He can expedite his going back to Godhead. I was listening to one of the classes of Srila Prabhupada this morning. He was asked, how long will it take for one to go back home, back to Godhead? Prabhupada says, within a second. Within a moment, one can go back home, back to Godhead. It depends on our determination and our purpose. But there are others who want to perform sacrifice to fulfill their material desires by worshipping different demigods. In the second canto, chapter 3, texts 2 to 7. First also, it was described here, one who desires to be absorbed in the impersonal Brahma Jyoti effulgence should worship the master of the Vedas, Lord Brahma or Brihaspati, the learned priest. So these are the different personalities that one may worship if one wants to merge into impersonal Brahman. the Brahma Jyoti, the effulgence coming from the transcendental form of the Supreme Lord. And then one who desires, these are demigod worshippers now, one who desires powerful sex should worship the heavenly king, Indra. And one who desires good progeny should worship the great progenitors called the Prajapatis. Prajapati, Daksha, expert in populating the universe. One who desires good fortune should worship Durga Devi, the superintendent of the material world. One desiring to be very powerful should worship fire. And one who aspires only after money should worship the Vasus. One should worship the Rudra incarnations of Lord Shiva if he wants to be a great hero. One who wants a large stock of grains should worship Aditi. One who desires to attain the heavenly planets should worship the sons of Aditi. One who desires a worldly kingdom should worship Vishvadeva. And one who wants to be popular with a general mass of population should worship the Sadhya demigod. One who desires a long span of life should worship the demigods known as the Asvini Kumaras. And a person desiring a strongly built body should worship the earth. One who desires stability in his post should worship the horizon and the earth combined. One who desires to be beautiful should worship the beautiful residents of the Gandharva planet. And one who desires a good wife should worship the Apsaras and the Urvasi society girls of the heavenly kingdom. One who desires domination over others should worship Lord Brahma, the head of the universe. One who desires tangible fame should worship the personality of Godhead. And one who desires a good bank balance should worship the demigod Varuna. If one desires to be a greatly learned man, he should worship Lord Shiva. And if one desires a good marital relation, he should worship the chaste goddess Uma, the wife of Lord Shiva. So here, even anyone who wants to fulfill their material desires according to their qualification also may worship these different personalities. But it says also in the scripture that one does not need to worship different demigods. If one worship the Supreme Lord alone, one can be able to fulfill one's desires as well. Ultimately, it is Lord Kṛṣṇa who fulfills all of one's desires indirectly through these different demigods. These demigods are administrators in our universe. They're like the one who manages the function or the operation of our universe. So not everyone can come to pure bhakti immediately. At least when they worship these different demigods, there is an indication that Lord Viṣṇu is there in the very beginning of the sacrifice or the yajña. Lord Viṣṇu is mentioned specifically. So there is a connection. Ultimately, after some time, after worshipping these different demigods, one will gradually come to the conclusion that one will worship Lord Viṣṇu, Yajña Viṣṇu. That is the whole purpose of the sacrifice, to please Lord Viṣṇu. But those who are materially inclined, their desire is tinged with material desires, not pure bhakti, then they are advised to worship these different demigods. Worshipping these different demigods fulfill one's desires. So there are different varieties, but actually there is only one aim one should have, that all sacrifices should meant to satisfy the Supreme Lord, Lord Viṣṇu. One in the beginning may have some material desires. That's okay, because not, again, immediately one comes to the pure desire only to please Lord Kṛṣṇa. So the scriptures describe how one can do this. And it says here, in the Purport also, it says, there are two primary divisions to classify sacrifices. One is to sacrifice worldly possessions. And this is meant for the devotees of the Supreme Lord. They sacrifice their worldly possessions. It's like in the beginning of our movement, we've heard devotees, they will give everything to Srila Prabhupada. Whatever savings they have, when they came to Kṛṣṇa consciousness, they gave everything to the temple. Everything. Whatever, a car, even musical instruments, different items. Some of them, if they have some savings, they give to Prabhupada. They give to the movement. It's a surrender. How many of us did that? Not many. I don't think so. Because that is very, very high, very topmost. Oh, I was reading the GBC meetings update just previously. There is one sannyasi. He became a guru. So he initiated, is the second generation, a disciple of Srila Prabhupada. So he initiated 11 disciples, and all of his dakshina he gave to the GBC. It's like setting a good example for others. That is ideal. Sacrificing the worldly possessions. This is the mood of the devotee, that he will be fully depending on the shelter and protection of the Supreme Lord. He will not be worried or trying to save for himself. He will give everything. There's another one, sacrifice in pursuit of transcendental knowledge. Yes. Again, transcendental sacrifice in pursuit of transcendental knowledge. I believe it was mentioned here also. What is that? Yes, those who are in Kṛṣṇa consciousness sacrifice all material possessions for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord, or his pure representative, while others who want some temporary material happiness sacrifice their material possessions to satisfy demigods such as Indra, sun god, etc. And others who are impersonalists sacrifice their identity by merging into the existence of impersonal Brahman. Sacrificing one's identity to lose to give up the notion of one's being a person or a jiva, or spirit, soul, by merging into the impersonal aspect, Brahma Jyoti, of the Supreme Lord. So there are different ways how sacrifices can be performed. Then it says here, comparison of sacrifices performed by different worshippers. So in Kṛṣṇa consciousness, we sacrifice our material possessions and our very self for Kṛṣṇa's satisfaction. We were mentioning this morning about Srimati Radharani and the gopis sacrifice their very self for the pleasure. For them, Kṛṣṇa was saying also that your pleasure is my pleasure. The pleasure that derives from serving the Supreme Lord, Kṛṣṇa becomes pleased, but then also reciprocally, Lord Kṛṣṇa pleases his devotees. That's why one of the names of Lord Kṛṣṇa is Bhaktavatsala, one who wants to please his devotees. He is obliged. So Arjuna, example of this is Arjuna sacrifices everything for the satisfaction of Kṛṣṇa. When Lord Kṛṣṇa says, Sarva dharman parityajya, give up all your so-called religious activities, just surrender unto me. Do not worry. So Arjuna is a first-class yogi. He did not lose his individual existence. He is still as he is, but he merged his desire for fulfilling Krishna's desire. That's what you call desireless. Desireless means all I want is to fulfill Krishna's desire. Or desireless means no material desires. This is very high level of Krishna consciousness, to be a desireless personality. I don't want anything for myself, everything for Krishna or Guru. This is very rare. Not easy to attain immediately. It takes time. It's a gradual process. So there are also worshipper in the category of demigods. Demigods. They sacrifice also their material possession to fulfill their desire and please certain personalities besides Lord Kṛṣṇa. The demigods, who are also can give some material boon that ends, not everlasting. Once it's used up, it's finished. Then you have to perform another austerity or sacrifice to please them. One is considered to be a fool if he thinks that the demigods will give them ultimate moksha. It's like Hiranyakashipu, he performed great austerities. He performed great austerities to become immortal, but it is not possible. So the demigod worshipper, they worship demigods for various material benefits. And we already read also that part in the second canto. And they're called bahv-īśvara-vādī, believers in many gods. There is only one God. He is the God for everyone, for any religions existing. He is the same personality, supreme person, for the Christians, for the Hindus, for the Muslims, everyone has the same one common Father. He's the seed-giving father of everyone. Aham bija pradapita. So they believe in many gods. Not, it says here, not capital G, small cap, G-O-D, gods. How many that? 33 million? 33 million demigods. It's quite a lot. So one will be bewildered. Which demigod next shall I worship to fulfill my desire? So you can have a list of 33 million demigods and you just keep on ticking. Okay, I already worship him. Already worship him. Tick, 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 tick. Oh no, another 22 million demigods. Tick, 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 tick. It'll be exhausting, isn't it? So Prabhupada gave that analogy that if you just water the root of the tree, then of the tree, of a plant, then automatically the leaves, the twigs, the branches, they all get nourished. So if we please and just water the root, that means Kṛṣṇa, then we are not obliged. There are so many debts that we owe having come into this human form of life. The demigods there also, we have to please them. We're obliged. We owe debts to the demigods because of these different material elements that we are getting benefit from. The light, the air, the water, different departments. It's like in a city, you have to pay all of these bills, water bill, or electricity bill. So we owe the demigods. Our forefathers, we also owe our forefathers. I met one devotee last night. He's going to Gaya. He's going to Gaya to do pinda for his parents and also his ancestors. Even Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu set that example. He did pinda. I asked him, is that really the lotus feet of Lord Viṣṇu? He said, yes. That's the lotus feet of Lord Viṣṇu. It's like here in Braj also. You go to Varshana, you will see, if you know where it is, when you go up, you will see the footprints of Srimati Radharani over there. So one doesn't have to go to, you can worship that also. Or there is some Govardhan Shilas also having the lotus feet of Lord Kṛṣṇa or Srimati Radharani. So, yes, and there is another one, the impersonalist. This is the last category, who perform sacrifices for certain benefit. The impersonalists, they sacrifice their very self into the fire altar of Supreme Brahman. They regard the forms of demigods as temporary. If they regard the forms of the demigods as temporary, what to say of the Supreme Lord? Imaginary is illusion. Because for the impersonalists, practically everything is illusion. Of course, there are two types, the sunyavadis and mayavadis. So the impersonalists, sunyavadis, they sacrifice their material designations and their individual existence by merging into the existence of the Supreme. This is a wrong notion that one would like to lose his identity. Not possible to lose one's identity. We're all going to be always unique, individual living beings. then they sacrifice their time in philosophical speculation. So the impersonalists are like this. They will read and try to understand the Vedas, but they will not come to the conclusion. Vasudeva sarvam iti. Samahatma sudurlabha. In spite of reading the Vedas, because they tend to speculate, then they will not come to conclusion. Vedaisya sarvair aham eva vedya vedantakrit vedavid eva cha of all the Vedas, I am to be known. Actually, I am the compiler of the Vedas. So, these mental speculators, the impersonalists, they sacrifice their knowledge, but their time is wasted because they don't come to the conclusion of the Vedas that Vasudeva is the conclusion of the whole Vedas. So this verse explains this. In conclusion, summarizing, some yogis perfectly worship the demigods by offering different sacrifices to them. And some of them offer sacrifices in the fire of the Supreme Brahman. And the topmost, the perfect yogi or first class mystic, is one who discharges his duties for the pleasure of Lord Kṛṣṇa. When we say Lord Kṛṣṇa, that means his associates also, his devotees. Okay, we stop here. Any question? Yes, Prabhuji?
Maharaj, what stops majority of people, why they don't take shelter of Lord Kṛṣṇa for their material desire? Why they approach demigods?
Because the demigods are easily pleased immediately. It's like you go to a 24-hour store. In America, they have it 7-Eleven. Instantly you go. But if you want, let's say, good quality products, you have to wait the next day. The store will open. They have certain timings. And demigod worshippers, they want instant result. That's what I mean. It's like Lord Shiva. One of the names of Lord Shiva is Ashutosh, one who is easily pleased. Even one who is in the mode of ignorance, they can worship the demigods and they can fulfill the desires. To worship Lord Kṛṣṇa wants us to be in the mode of pure goodness. And because we are contaminated by the modes of material nature, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance, it takes time. Most of us are in the mode of ignorance and passion, so we want instant result. Yeah. So Prabhupada says at least we should come to the platform mode of goodness. And then from there, gradually we'll become purified and then come to the platform of pure goodness. So everyone is given a chance to make progress, even the one who is in the mode of ignorance. Mostly the demigod worshippers are in the mode of ignorance and passion. But gradually, because Lord Viṣṇu is connected, then they come to the platform in due course of time to practice bhakti and worship Lord Viṣṇu, Lord Kṛṣṇa. That takes time. After many, many births, bahunam janmanam ante. When they realize, why do I have to worship the demigods? Let me just worship Lord Kṛṣṇa. Because not everyone would like to surrender. This is the last thing that one would like to do, surrender. For the demigods, they don't have to surrender. Do they have to surrender to the demigods? Of course, some, because they want to take a brat It's like for Monday, you perform austerity. Who's for the Monday? Lord Shiva. And Tuesday? Hanumanji. Yeah. And Saturday, Saturn. Right? So each day of the week, you worship a certain demigod and you perform austerity for them. But real austerity is to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Not everyone would like to do that. Yeah, why do I have to do that? Let me go easy way. But there is no easy way. Yeah?
One more question.
Okay.
What actually happened to these like yogis who perform sacrifices to merge into the Lord, but actually they don't merge because it is not possible. So what actually happened?
Well, they go to this Brahman effulgence. But after some time, because there is no activity, you become bored. It's like the whole day you don't do anything, you just sleep. You'll become more and more depressed. You want to get out of that condition. Yeah? So after some time, they come back again to the material, earthly planet, perform a bhakti. It takes time. That means once it's used up, it's karma also. You may say it's a karma, because karma means once it's used up, you come down again. It is not spiritual to merge. That moksha, according to the acharyas, it is hellish. Sayujya mukti, to merge into the effulgence of the Supreme Lord's body, the effulgence. No, you cannot last there, because no activity means no bliss. See, the devotees, they are busy all day, 24 hours. The Prabhupada says, you chant Hare Krishna, you will never get tired. You serve the Supreme Lord, you will never get tired. 24 hours is not enough for the devotees performing sacrifice, their time, their energy, and whatever opulence they have for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. Yeah. Demigod worshippers, no. They want a break. We don't have holidays. Actually, Saturday and Sunday, for the materialists, this is a break for them. But in our calendar, Saturday and Sundays, more busy for us. Yeah? Isn't it true? Yeah. More preaching. Yes?
From where you are reading this list of one who desires and to worship?
Oh, I got this from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Why, you want to follow some of those demigods? Okay, second canto, chapter 3, text 2 to 7. 2, 3, 2 to 7. The title of that is Pure Devotional Service, the Change in Heart. Yeah. Isn't it nice to hear all of those? You want to become powerful? Worship Agni. You want money? Only money? You worship the Vasus. You want a big bank account? Kuvera. So there are many, yes. But there is one here. One who desires tangible fame should worship the personality of Godhead. Automatically, a devotee is famous. You don't have to aspire to be famous when you serve the Supreme Lord. Devotees who are surrendered unto the Supreme Lord, they're famous all over the world. Their fame is spread. Like I've been traveling this past summer, and in each place that I've been through, there is one outstanding devotee who did a lot of service or is still doing a lot of service. Some of them passed away, and they'll always be remembered. They may not be like known all over the world, but within the community is very revered, very respected, and he was ideal in performing bhakti. In Vrindavan, we have a lot of them still alive. One does not have to wait before one becomes famous. Because Vrindavan is a land of surrender. You cannot be here without surrendering to Kṛṣṇa or his devotees. One will not last here. Yeah? You have a question?
I got the answer between them.
You got the answer? Acha. Okay, so we stop here. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada K.